If you're a Christian, conservative, or have social media in general, you've probably experienced cyberbullying or some harassment for what you believe. And today we're going to be talking about how to deal with some of these things without compromising the meaning of our message and how we can respond in love. Hey friends, and welcome back to Called and Unqualified, a Create, Worship, Inspire video series. I'm so sorry it's been so long since another upload. I've been dealing with some health stuff, and I also moved into a new place. I moved to Texas. This is the first video that I've done here, so thank you so much for your patience. If you don't know me already, my name is Brenna, and I'm unqualified to be a political or spiritual expert of any kind, but I have experienced some pushback for what I believe online. So I am a conservative Christian, and I went to school and was raised in California. So even my university is based in California, and no matter how peaceful, patient, and loving I've tried to be, I have experienced some backlash for what I believe. If you're a Christian, we're told in the Bible that we are going to experience harassment and even persecution for what we believe. So this isn't really a shock. And if you're a conservative, we're told that the other political side is going to attack us by our character, and they're not really going to attack us with facts. Okay. As someone who's actually changed my political views over the course of my short life so far, I know that this isn't true in all cases. There is a good number that will try to convince you or just tell you that you're wrong by attacking your intellect or character, but this really isn't everybody that disagrees with us. In fact, the more I've gotten politically active, the more I've actually noticed something in my own group. As a conservative, and I've also noticed other conservatives are told to expect that people that are more liberal-leaning are going to use reasons backed up by feelings rather than facts. So we expect that when we're challenged, it's not going to be with facts. But I noticed something, especially for the conservatives that were raised in conservative homes, and yes, there are exceptions to this. I noticed that they too also attack others by feelings. They attack the intellect and the character of the person on the other side rather than just getting to the core issue. And this isn't productive at all. So guess what? This actually isn't a characteristic of a certain political way of thinking. It's just a human thing. So through this, we see that people are actually doing the opposite of what they preach. But is this really a surprise? Instead of being kind to everybody regardless of what they think, people will tend to lash out to others that don't yet think like them, and this isn't productive in any direction. All people are broken, so some of the things that the right will complain about the left, the right does too, and vice versa. We all need to take a moment to be humbled because we are all broken people. So first, I'm going to share some of my experiences, especially in college, that I had with hate, backlash, and challenging for what I believed. But I'm also going to share at the very end some of the things that really surprised me and humbled me. And I'm also going to share with you what I did to kind of combat some of that while still representing the message that I held to be true. So this last semester, me and some of my closest friends decided to start my university's very first conservative club on campus. We mostly just wanted a place for free speech. And in the kindest way possible, it was very poorly received by the rest of our campus. So since my university isn't on campus right now and we were online, we decided to launch our club on a social media site. And immediately this was not well received. We had students that were trying to report our page as fake and said it wasn't representative of our university. So our first post, one of the biggest issues had to do with a pro-life issue. So that is one of the things that I feel very passionately about. And just through our club hierarchy, I had been assigned the job of replying to our comments on our page. And I made the mistake of using my personal social media account. So it made it very easy to target me personally. And since I had personally identified myself, it did not take long, probably within 24 hours, for a small group of students to go ahead to my on-campus supervisor, take some things I had said out of context, and I was interviewed by, my supervisor and our ethics committee for the department. And I almost lost my job for pro-life comments. I know these debates can kind of get heated, so I tried to go out of my way to be gentle, rely on facts, and things that would take a lot of effort to argue with. I tried to be as kind as I could and really just tried to make friends no matter what. But still, this happened. I had also wrongly assumed that our faculty advisor that agreed to supervise our club was going to advocate for us because we were already expecting that we were going to face some challenges by starting up. But she actually felt so much pressure from administration that she encouraged us to publicly apologize, and me specifically, for some of the things that I had said online. But here's the problem. My pro-life views have a lot more to do with my spiritual convictions than they do my political convictions. And our club was in the ideological minority. We weren't trying to inspire fear. Yeah, it was controversial, but we weren't really a threat to anybody. I legally, and by my university, cannot be required to apologize for something that has to do with my faith. And so I told her, I respect where you're coming from, but I can't do this. And I explained myself. We explained to our advisor that we were just trying to inspire diversity of thought and expose other students to different ways of thinking rather than trying to start a problem. I go out of my way to apologize for things when I do them wrong. So when it comes to situations like this, people will know that I'm not trying to start a problem or start a fight just because I won't apologize. They actually know it's for something serious. So we eventually reached out to other groups of students that I had known through online groups and asked them for advice. And the advice that I got from them honestly wasn't very helpful. Everybody that I talked to who had either been through this or had heard similar stories, because unfortunately it's very common, they encouraged us to fight the administration, beat them to their own game, show no respect, file a lawsuit, and just go full force. But we didn't want to do any of that. If you're new to this channel, I don't operate that way. And a lot of my friends don't either. If it escalated to that extent, absolutely we would have filed a lawsuit or done something. But we weren't even there yet. Because we weren't just fighting for our right to exist on campus, but we wanted to build bridges between communities and people that didn't think like us. And this also has something to do with our message. The way that we fight is just as important as the things that we're trying to communicate. And we really, really didn't want to inspire revenge or fear. We just wanted to coexist with everybody else at our university. So this last semester, I did take a class with one of the most difficult professors that I've had. I really, really wanted to get along with him ever since I started at the university, but no matter how hard I tried, he thought there was just too much difference between us, so it was a little bit difficult to interact with him in class. So he is a very educated man. He got all of his degrees from an Ivy League, and he's a very open communist. So this made it a little bit difficult for me to stand up for what I believed. About half of our class time was actually used to discussing things that more related to American politics and imperialism around the world, if you know what that is, way less than what the class was supposed to be about. So it had come up during one of our class sessions. He found out through an assignment that I was pro-Israel but didn't condemn all Palestinians just for their existence, but he did condemn the state of Israel and all of the Jewish people. I can't tell you for sure because I could be wrong, but I was very convinced throughout my scores for the rest of the semester that once he found out that I thought this, my scores started to go down. So after both of these things happened, I went to one of my professors for help. I knew that she and I disagreed politically, but I'd known her for years and I had worked hard, and she understood that I wasn't there to be difficult. I actually had the conviction for these things. She knew that I was a hardworking student and I didn't just want to cause controversy in the classroom. Unfortunately though, she even shared some stories with me that this had not been her experience with conservative students. She's actually had some conservatives in her class that would back her into a hypothetical corner, get her to say something that could be taken out of context, and then the student would go to the dean. This isn't a fair way to operate. This professor of mine, who isn't conservative or Christian, knew where my heart was. How? It's because I'd always tried to treat her nicely, with respect, be super hardworking in her class, and I didn't want to cause a problem. Was I perfect? Absolutely not. There are so many things that I remember and I just cringe because there were times I should have spoken up and I decided to be afraid instead. And there were probably some times when I had a little bit of attitude I hope no one could see, but I'm definitely still a broken person. And the supportive professor of mine, when she heard what I had been through, she was really upset. She was angry because she was so disappointed that I was experiencing this kind of treatment just because of the things that I believed. And then with our conservative club in particular, something happened with the other students around us that really surprised me and humbled me. When our club was facing harassment and I personally was being attacked, I got some messages from some friends that I know don't agree with me on a lot of things, and they apologized for the way that some of the other students were treating me and my friends that were a part of the club, and they actually said, please don't think that we're all like this. And I know, because it's not a characteristic of a certain political or spiritual way of thinking, it's just all people are broken. We all need Jesus. God used this opportunity to build bridges because the way that we fight is so incredibly important. Even if the people that we're interacting with, if their minds don't change, the people that are watching from the sidelines can still be impacted. The way that we represent what we say either reinforces or destroys the message that we're standing for and trying to communicate. This semester actually really floored me because yeah, I was taking a class where I felt politically attacked, but I was also taking a class that I really loved, and it was actually to help this podcast actually. When I came into class, I assumed that the professor wasn't going to agree with me spiritually or politically, and I was right. But I had assumed that I wasn't going to be able to use any of this content without being discriminated against. But I was so wrong. My professor actually encouraged me to continue making this kind of content because he believed in the overall message, that we can talk about confrontational things in non-confrontational ways. My classmates too were nothing but supportive. Occasionally I did get kind of a question that was toned with critique, but I never got attacked for who I was or what I believed. All of my classmates respected my right to express what I believed, and that really had an impact on me. Because I've been told by my own communities, especially my political community, that the people that don't think like me are enemies and obstacles and they just want to get in my way, but that was so far from the truth, and I'm so glad that I didn't treat them like that. These people were just friends that I hadn't built a relationship with yet. So this isn't a very typical story of a conservative and a Christian going through college. So why was my experience different? I have a couple suspicions, and so I want to share them with you. I believe, like I've been echoing this entire video, that it has a big thing to do with the way that we convey our message. So I'm going to share with you the way that I respond to confrontation. The first thing is to not be super confrontational. This works for some students, but for me it doesn't. Because when I have a professor in class say something that I know is wrong, I feel like calling him or her out is going to more jeopardize his or her authority rather than actually present it in a way that I feel like my professor is going to hear it. And also, when the professor gets defensive, the students are probably going to come to the professor's aid, and now you've just labeled yourself as an outlier, and you haven't really made any progress. By bringing things up at the wrong time or even in the wrong way, you can look like more of a problem than a solution. It's very important that you present things at an appropriate time. So for example, if I have a professor bring something up that I don't agree with, maybe it's not appropriate to say something during class. If I'm prompted for a response, sure, but do it in the most kind and respectful way possible. Be very gentle. But if you're asked to write something down on paper, this is when I usually still try to be kind, patient, and gentle, but present what I believe. I'm not gonna lie on a paper about what I hold to be true and what I know is true. This is a really big one that's probably gonna be most difficult for a lot of the people that I know. When you do something wrong, we need to be humble and accept the blame for things that we've actually done. Because when you show that level of humility, when you finally get pinned for something you didn't do, people are gonna actually be more inclined to believe that you aren't to blame, because they know that you will speak up when you have to apologize for something. They'll understand that it's less about your pride and reputation and more about the actual subject at hand. This next one kind of is lumped in that same category. Yeah, we're gonna be imperfect, so don't be afraid of doing things wrong, but try to give them as little character ammo as possible. I don't remember who I heard it from or who originally said it. I think I heard it from one of my parents, but it was operate in a way where when your character is questioned, people aren't really inclined to believe it. because it sounds out of character for you to do something that's really, really messed up. You want to walk with humility, gentleness, integrity, and kindness, because these are the people that are going to have a huge impact on people that don't think like them. And isn't that the whole goal? So what happens if you do all of this and people still want to fight? Yeah, it's going to happen. But you continue to be kind and integritous. Why? Because others are watching. You remember all of those people that slid into my DMs on Instagram and supported me when some of their friends were attacking our page? Yeah, that's exactly why. We still want to be kind and full of integrity so we can impact the people around us. Yeah, we're still going to face confrontation, judgment, harassment, maybe even persecution, things that aren't fair. But it is so important that we continue to fight with gentleness and kindness. And we also want to fight with love and patience. Don't bend to compromise what you believe. But remember, we fight ideologies. We don't fight people. Okay guys, so that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, you can find all of these episodes on createworshipinspire.com and any podcast platform. On createworshipinspire.com, you can also find the link to our Patreon page and our online merch store. Please be sure to leave a comment and leave any suggestions that you have for future episodes. Also, if you can, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and share with a friend. And please be sure to like Create Worship Inspire on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and you can join our Discord server. Thank you all so much for all of your love and support. See you next time.